afternoon, everyone. My name is Trevor, and I will be your stripper today. And today we are stripping down this 1969 AMC Rambler. I'm going to take you guys through the process of chemically removing all the paint, rust, undercoating, filler, everything off this car to get it down to bare metal prior to its restoration. But before we get it in our alkaline paint remover tank, let's go over this thing and see what kind of condition it's in. So starting at the front here, this Rambler looks pretty solid. We have a little bit of surface rust in a few areas. It's covered in a coat of primer, so that shouldn't be too tough. But everything looks really solid. I don't see any rot coming through anywhere, just light rust. Come over to the side here. We do have some undercoating, and going over this thing, there are some spots where it is pretty thick. We always uncover some surprises though, so that's part of the fun of this, seeing what's under all this paint and primer. We got some seam sealer in the floors. The floors look solid. I don't see any rust holes coming through anywhere. Come over to the quarter panels. This is where the rot shows its face. We can see on the rocker there, we got some rust holes coming through. These flares rotted out a little bit. Have a look at the back. We got some rust holes coming through in the back there. We'll get a closer look at that. Have a look in the trunk area. You can see some of that thick undercoating, some rust on the inside of the quarter there. But all in all, pretty solid. Come over to the passenger quarter. This is the worst of it. You can see that flare's just completely rotted out there. Basically the same rot as on the other side, just a little worse. And here's where that really thick undercoating is. Look how thick that is. Let me get this rope out of here. That is so thick. I'm just busting on. Look at that. Have a look at the passenger side floor. Pretty much perfect. And back to the front. Okay, so this thing is ready to go in the tank. It's gonna spend about 2, maybe 3 days in the alkaline tank. We'll pull it out, we'll pressure wash it, we'll see what's left. So some primers can be pretty tricky with our alkaline, and it doesn't like to touch them very much. But once we go into rust removing acid, especially if it's an oxide primer, it usually takes all the primer off. I'm curious to see how this reacts in our chemical, but I'll see you guys in a few days. Take this thing out and pressure wash it, see what we're working with. So here you can see the car going into the acid bath for rust removal. You can see there's still all that primer on it. It actually went into the alkaline bath for one more dip and basically didn't touch any of the primer, but took care of the rest of the seam sealer and undercoating. It's going to spend about 2 days in here. We're going to pull it out, pressure wash it, and then it's immediately going to go back into the acid because no car is ever done with one acid dip. Here you can see we're pulling it out. We're going to take this thing over to the wash bay, pressure wash it, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. So we're going to finish up pressure washing here, and then it's going to go into the acid bath for its final dip. Now, I wasn't at work for the day that it went into the acid bath, so you're just going to see it being pulled out of the acid bath. Here you can see we're pulling it out. This is its final acid bath. So immediately after we pull it out of here, we're going to head over to our alkaline paint stripper, and we're going to lower in there, and that's going to neutralize all the acid. It's going to remain in the alkaline for about 10 or 15 minutes. That way we're just sure everything is neutralized. We're going to take it over to the wash bay, pressure wash it, and then apply a water-based rust inhibitor. And then we're going to go over this thing and see how it's looking naked. The 1969 AMC Rambler is finally finished. I got this thing down to bare metal. This one wasn't too bad at all. The primer was a little tough. Our alkaline didn't like it very much, so I ended up putting it in the acid and it ended up taking care of it. You'll notice that with primers sometimes, especially oxide primers. I know I say this all the time, but our alkaline doesn't like them, acid eats them right up. That's enough of me talking. Let's have a quick look at this thing and let's see what it looks like naked. So up front here, you see this metal finished up really nice. We have a bunch of pitting and some rust coming through in a few spots there. There were some repairs done right there and on the opposite side. Those were all filled with it was like a plastic seam sealer. It was super hard to remove. Around to the driver's side. We did have some patches on the frame. I don't think there's any on this side. I believe it's on the other side. It's still wet from the rust inhibitor I applied to it. Oh, we got some rock coming through right there. A few pinholes. We have some pitting the whole way along there. Have a look at these floors. You'd see where some of that plastic seam sealer, I don't know what it was, but it was just wedged in between there. That stuff was a super pain to remove. You can see those welds down there. A few patches right there and there. To the quarter panels. You see we got some rock coming through there, a few pinholes, and those flares are rotted out on both sides. See this brazing that we have here. I don't believe that's factory because it's not the same way on the other side. We got a lot of pitting, you got some brazing there. Some more brazing. Have a look at the back here. Come around to the passenger quarters. This is where the worst of it is. Whole flare is just rotted out. We got a bunch of pinholes coming through. And you can see we don't have the same brazing on this side. There's like these little plastic plugs in there. Two of them fell out, but one's still in there. Have a look at rockers. Have a look at the floor from this side. We got a decent amount of pitting and pinholes coming through. A few patches over here too. As you can see, all those welds ground down. We got some brazing. You can see there's the wires still attached right there. But over in that corner over there, you can see all those holes. There was a whole bunch of patches just glued in there. I actually have them on hand here. Pretty much just sculpted together. None of them were welded, and they all just lifted out of there. But if he wants these, I can dip them real quick. Pretty sure he does. But we have some more pitting up here. You can see that's some pretty deep pitting. And here's that patch I was talking about on the frame. You can see it's cut out right there. But let's go back to the front. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Man, I am sweating my butt off. It's like 1,000 degrees in this shop. But I appreciate every single one of you, and I'll see you at the next car.